What the Actual Fork podcast is co-hosted by two intuitive eating registered dietitians, yours truly, Sammy Previtt, owner of Fine Food Freedom, and Jenna Warner, owner of Happy Strong Healthy.
We can't stand diet culture bullshit and love keeping it real. Our mission is for all humans to believe that they are made for so much more than chasing a smaller body. We are also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again.
Although we are medical professionals, we are human beings too. We are not afraid to share our deepest, darkest secrets and how many years of our lives were taken by diet culture.
We started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom. So get comfy and join us for a casual convo where you can expect to laugh, cry, learn, and grow.
We are so grateful that you're here. So if you enjoyed this podcast and want to connect further, we invite you to follow along on Instagram at WhatTheActualForkPod and subscribe, rate, and review our podcast so we can continue to share this message with more and more people. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of What the Actual Fork podcast. Hi, Jenna. How are you?
I'm just so happy to be here. I feel like you and I haven't recorded
I know
together in weeks, it feels like.
Because you were on vacay and then I was on vacay.
Yes. And
so that's why we're light and airy today.
That's it. And summer just goes by so fast. And I feel like it's like really, it must be like insanely hot by you, but it's like getting to be like muggy, but different weather here on the East Coast. And it just feels just different in the air.
Well, we were in Maine,
right,
Portland and Bar Harbor, and it was 66 and like breezy. And then we came home and my mom had been gone all day with my grandma, and we came home and our air conditioner broke. So it was 9 and we slept in a 90-degree home. That I don't even remember when, like last night, 2 nights ago. And I was just like, welcome fucking back to Florida. Like this sucks. Like get me out of here.
I don't know how you do it. I don't think I said this on a podcast episode because we haven't recorded since I was away, but like we left cups out in Florida and they melted. They literally melted. I don't get it.
We've had like a little reprieve these past 2 days and it's kind of cloudy and we get like the Florida summer storms. So like that helps bring the heat down a little bit, but it's been crazy. So you tell me, do you have a What the Actual Fork moment? Do you want me to go first?
I feel like the only What the Actual Fork moments that I have right now is like my TikTok algorithm is like really showing me some good shit right now. And when I say that, I mean it very sarcastically of just like the realities of, I think, who is it that said this? I think it was Andy. Andy Does Healthy posted something where she said the barriers to entry of social media experts, quote unquote, is so fucking low that anybody can be an expert online if they talk confidently and if they share an opinion or whatever else. And like it comes across as fact. And I think, the perfect example, there's a video I posted yesterday. I stitched this man.
That was going to be mine because you showed me.
Like,
and Delina just posted it too.
Like, and I feel bad. Like maybe he really thought like this was correct, but like you can't post an experiment that you did and tell people that their stomach is the same as a Ziploc bag. You just can't do that.
Tell the people what was the video, just very briefly.
So this man left watermelon in a plastic bag in probably Florida in a hot car for a day, and he came back to the bag, and the bag, I'm watching it right now, has expanded, and he is saying this is why your stomach gets bloated, because in your stomach the fruit ferments, it overheats, and essentially just sits there and just bloats you. Like,
yes, it's when is watermelon sitting in our stomach for over 48 hours.
Like, nothing about it is fact, but he's talking and he's confident and he's saying these things and he's using words, I think like gut motility and like really microbiome and like science phrases. Like my pal Paul Saladino, Carnivore MD, loves to do that. Flav City loves to do that. Like it's a formula now. Like you say science words, you talk confidently, you use the word experiment, and now people, that video, his original video has like 1 million views. Like it goes viral. So, and I just can't help but think, clearly I had a what the actual word moment, but I just can't help but think that like people that watch that and are impacted by that are not going to eat watermelon anymore. Right. And I think it was BioLane who, listen, I don't agree with everything he posts, but I do think when he does share certain things, he does have the right science to back it up. And he posted something the other day saying how an eating disorder clinic reached out to him, thanking him for putting facts behind a video that Carnivore MD shared saying that oatmeal is really bad for everyone, saying that a woman in their treatment facility who was very, very sick just started eating oatmeal. Then she saw Paul Saladino's video saying that oatmeal has glyphosate in it or whatever else he said about it. And she refused food for 3 days. She's a very sick person. And then that person showed this girl BioLane's video talking about the science, showing the facts, like blah, 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 talking about how oatmeal is health promoting and all of these things, and essentially saved this woman's life because then she started eating it again. Like we don't realize like how powerful some of these quote unquote influencers can be in a very harmful way. And it's just wild. Your turn.
Next. Well, it's funny because my what the actual fork moment was going to be your video because I don't know. I haven't been on TikTok. Obviously, I was just on vacation, so I was really removed from my phone and it was so wonderful. And I'm questioning why I ever pick up my phone. So I feel like I'm fresh out, but I feel like I can always count on you to just do some deep diving on TikTok. And I saw that video and I was like, you've got to be shitting me. I didn't even watch though. I didn't watch the full thing. I just watched your stitch. So I got, the general idea of what this person was saying. But like, what the actual fuck? Come on.
So wild.
Come on. But that's where and I don't know if this is like wrong of me, but when I see that, I'm like, people can't actually believe that, right? And I don't know if that's just because we have our dietitian hats on and right, and our intuitive eating hats on or whatever, counselor hats on. But I see that and I laugh and I almost forget that it's triggering to people because to us, it's like, how could you not see that?
And I think that sometimes people want to believe it, right? So it's like they see it.
True.
They want to.
You want a reason not to eat fruit. Because
right.
you do, probably because you have a fucked up relationship with food. You think carbs and fruit are bad. Yeah. So it's like, oh, see, fruit is bad.
See, it's just sitting in my stomach for days.
I can't.
I think he also said it turns into alcohol. Like, so are we all walking around drunk? And then he like threw off like it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like it's actually not.
I can't.
And it can be confusing because they're putting out like all of these things. I don't know. It's getting pretty wild out there. So like I like to end most videos these days is just stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe. It is wild. And speaking of wild and safety, what a great bridge to today's episode that we did with the amazing Sarah Adams, also known as Mom Uncharted or is it Mom Uncharted?
Mom. And wait, before you read her bio, like, didn't it feel like when we were talking to her today, like we were like, every time she talks on social media, it's like you're on FaceTime with her. Yes. Like that's the quality of her content and why I get sucked into every single video. I love her. But like, I think that's how I found her. Cause I'm like, is she talking to me?
That's what it's all about though, right? It's just showing up as your authentic self and what you believe in. And so Sarah has absolutely had a huge impact on how you show up online and show your child/children, future unborn children. Same for me. Like I remember you shared Sarah's account with me and then I've never thought the same. I've shared it with my friends. It's been like a complete game changer. So let's get into Sarah's bio that she sent us. She sent it from her perspective. So I'm going to pretend to be Sarah when I read it. Right? So, hi, I'm Sarah. I've been exploring the state of parental public oversharing, child exploitation, and minor safety on social media since the summer of 2021. Since then, I have grown a large and supportive community of like-minded adults who feel the way parents are sharing the children online is concerning, and that the platforms, governments, and brands need to step up to protect a whole generation of children from growing up in the public eye without their knowledge or informed consent. Do you want to take it from here, Jenna?
Sure. Using children and their real lives as entertainment for strangers on the internet has somehow become normal, and I would like us all to consider a new normal, one that prioritizes the child's right to privacy, informed consent, critical thinking, and safety online over a parent's desire for online fame. Such a good quote. My goal has always been to pose questions, offer a different perspective, and provide information as it relates to these topics, encouraging parents to reflect on their own sharing choices and accounts they are consuming that are using kids as content. She's also a mom. She is married and a mom of 2, both under the age of 5, and she loves to travel. I found Sarah probably around 2021, if not maybe like 2022-ish, whenever she really joined TikTok. And I've been following her since she was a little account that has legitimately exploded. And I send everybody to her page because she's the first person that opened my eyes to it and changed the way that I was showing my child's face, like thinking it was innocent, knowing I have a decently large following, or a following at all, and knowing that I have no control over what happens after a picture is posted is terrifying. So that has made a huge impact for me in my life, and I'm just so appreciative. But before we go into this episode, I do have to ask you one last question.
Oh gosh.
Are you team Jeremiah or Conrad?
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't think I've asked you this, and the final episode I think comes out tonight, and like I need to know.
Okay. I have like a longer answer than one word. When it was
Good.
season 1, I was team Conrad through and through. Like never thought
So
anything
far,
of
we're on
it.
the same page.
And then season 2 hit, and they just did such a great job of sharing all of season 1 through Jeremiah's perspective, because we never got to hear it through his eyes, his beautiful eyes. And I think I'm team Jeremiah now.
Can't believe we agree on this. I have the chills. This is so good for us. Like, I literally posted that I was team Jeremiah, and the amount of people that DM'd me saying I was crazy, I was like, unfollow me.
Okay,
Please
well, here's the
unfollow
thing.
me.
Here's the thing if we really are going to unpack this. And I was talking because my mom just left and we watched it. We're all caught up. Like Belly is in love with Conrad and will be forever. Like that's never going to change. And that's where like, and I don't know how season 3 ends. My mom knows the ending because she read the books. They were books.
Oh,
And
yes. My
yes.
cousin did too. That's why she hasn't responded to me. Okay,
Yes.
that's a good
So,
point.
but I know that in my heart, like, you know, that Belly loves Conrad, and there's like nothing she could ever
he was
do to
her
change
first.
that. Yeah. But even before he was her first, like she was just obsessed with him. But Jeremiah is like the steady, reliable, like, you know, they're the brothers that like they both give her such different things that it's easy to love both of them, because
like also she can't marry either one of them. Like if she ends up with Jeremiah, then she's always going to be like, I slept with your brother. Like that can't
and then
happen,
like I'm absolutely in love with him to my core. But yeah, so no, but I was definitely like 100%. If you would have asked me this at the end of the season 1, I was team Conrad.
Totally.
Like
I was so like happy that they like kind of connected. I don't remember exactly that last episode, but yeah, this show is just so good. It makes me excited to have 2 boys.
You sent me this show. It was during like my new week's postpartum. I was like, send me something to watch. Like I need help. I'm going insane. And you sent me this, and I binged watched, I think, like the whole thing in one day. I just breastfed for like 8 hours, sat on the couch. And
I totally remember that.
And watched it. And absolutely. And then I think I told you for season 2, I was like, you should be excited to have 2 boys. You're just like, you know, their mom, except like you're not going to die of cancer. We're not putting that out in the universe. Let's take that out. But the boys with her were so cute.
I know. And like the way that they're like, they bond, like gets me very excited. I mean, they're terrible to each other, but like at the same time, I feel like they have like a very sweet understanding.
And speaking of two boys, I also told you to watch The Incredibles, or not The Incredibles, shit. I'm getting them all mixed
Baby.
up. Boss Baby, which you need to watch. It is just, trust me, watch the movie, not just the trailer. It is so freaking cute.
Well, I need to watch something else because especially after this episode today, I cannot support these family bloggers anymore. Well, Noah, and like, it's weird how much he likes them. But anyways, I don't want to keep you guys from this episode any longer, but please feel free to comment which team you are if you are a fan of The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Yes. And as we get in today's episode, I accidentally deleted my note on our notes, but I loved how Sarah called people into this conversation without guilt, without shame. There is no guidebook, like she said, on how to do this. Our age of parenting, we weren't on the internet because that wasn't, like, our parents didn't have that. So we're all doing the best we can with the resources we have. So we hope that, right? And exactly, just like
so it does have a crossover.
Yes. So I hope that today's episode with Sarah can be a resource for people to do exactly what she said. Just question things, offer a different perspective. And
it's just like what you say all the time, to get curious.
To get curious about what we're doing, why we're doing it, what are our intentions behind why we're doing it. All of the things we talk about with diet culture really do parallel into today's niche, if you will. So 100%. With that being said, let's get into it.
Got it.
I didn't wear mascara on purpose today because I felt like I could potentially cry during this episode out of excitement, but then also the content itself is going to be a little emotionally charged today for really good reasons. And I am so freaking excited to have Sarah Adams here with us today, also known as Mom.Uncharted on social media. Sarah, you have personally changed my life. I talk to my husband about you pretty much daily because he has not fully understood the concept yet of what you share. But he watches your content now too. And we are so excited to welcome you on the podcast today.
Oh, well, thanks, you too. It's truly an honor. I love talking about this, and I love just hearing that my content, my opinion has had effect on others. That makes my heart feel good because that's really what it's about. Just having these conversations so we can all reflect on the way we are sharing our children online, as well as the content that we are consuming.
And I know when you first responded to our request, you're like, I don't know if our content like overlaps at all, but like more recently it has, which is wild. And we'll talk about that today because actually I sent one of your TikTok videos to the New York Post this week because they asked me specifically about it.
Well, you're my go-to because sometimes I send you videos and I'm like, have you seen this?
Happening?
Like if I'm uncomfortable, then you're going to be really uncomfortable.
So before we get into all of this good stuff, we love to start out every episode by asking our guests what the actual fork moment of the week, the month, the year, their lifetime has been. And it doesn't have to relate to your niche, but I feel like you probably have plenty of content to share within there. If there's anything that has stood out in your mind specifically about, what it is that you come across on the internet that literally stopped you in your tracks.
I feel like every day you probably have like 70 million of these. So maybe...
yeah, I get tagged in a lot. And sent a lot. I think right now, honestly, it's a positive. What is stopping me in my tracks is hearing from other people that my content has had an impact, that it has led to change, that I'm being offered to share my thoughts and opinions on larger platforms, and that I see large influencers making change in the way in which they share their kids. Like, I'm by no means trying to take all the credit or anything like that. There's a lot of people who are having these conversations and advocating for the rights of children and their privacy. But to see this shift, it honestly gives me goosebumps. There has been a shift and I feel it and I see it. And that is probably, a really nice fork in the road. We're going in the right direction.
I love how you twisted that into a positive. That is so amazing and also says so much about you. And Sam, I will pass the mic over to you in a second, I promise. But I did see recently, which like adds on to what you just shared, that I think it Illinois or one of
Yeah,
that just passed a law protecting kids
they
from
did.
online work, essentially,
Yeah.
which is
So those,
amazing.
so the Illinois, sadly it didn't pass in Washington State where it was first introduced, but they kept fighting. They brought it to Illinois and it was passed last week. And it protects the income that the children of family vloggers and influencers are making for their families, right? Because without them, you're not getting the income, you're not generating all this profit. So it's a great first step. And there's a lot of rules and how are they going to monitor this? Like it comes with a lot of questions. So I'm very cautiously optimistic, but it's a great first step.
That is amazing. And so obviously we want our listeners, if they've never been exposed to you, we need to share a little bit of who you are and what you do. But I wanted to give a little excerpt first of how you made an impact on my life. Well, first of all, Jenna sent your account to me probably years ago. Jenna, was it when you were probably
Jenna's
first?
an OG.
She's an OG, probably
She's
when
an
she was
OG.
pregnant with Noah, maybe even.
I would watch and be like, "Are you following this woman? Like,
Yes,
do
yes.
you see this?"
Yes. So I came back from a vacation with some friends and we didn't even discuss like how pictures were going to go up
Yep.
of, after the trip. And basically a picture was posted of my daughter in the bathtub. And
Yep.
now this was coming from a mom who just doesn't come online much, doesn't even like have a social media following.
Yep.
But it gave me the opportunity to share your account and obviously ask for the picture to be taken down and here's why and all of these things. So you're making a huge impact and I can only imagine like that's one little example, but how other like those little ripples make huge waves. So for
Oh,
people,
100%.
yes. So for people listening, I would love for you to explain who you are, what your account is all about and how you got into this too. I would love to hear how you got into this passion.
Yeah, of course. So I'm like a regular everyday mom, stay-at-home mom. I have two children, both under the age of 5. I live on the west coast of Canada. I'm married. I'm like a pretty average mom, taking them to activities and doing all the stuff, fretting over what they're going to eat for lunch, those lunches, packing the lunches every day. But so I'm just kind of regular and I had thoughts and opinions. And I think it's important to note that I was one of the individuals who followed these accounts at some time, not the family vlogger YouTube stuff. That was always way not interesting to me, but the Instagram moms I followed because when I became a mom in 2017, I kind of naturally fell into following moms online, right? How do I do this? I've never done this. Like, I want the information. I want to know what stuff to buy. Finding a sense of community, support, even though I was just a silent follower. I never was active or anything. I was just scrolling, hitting the link, buying, that kind of stuff. And didn't really think much of it. And it wasn't until 2020 and I had my baby during the first week of lockdown and we were all at home and we were all going online more and we were all naturally sharing more that I started to feel very uncomfortable with the amount of information, the amount of images parents were sharing, the amount of time they were like spending throughout their day doing their stories and stuff like that. It all just felt too much. Like I shouldn't know what these kids had for breakfast, what they're wearing to school, their recent medical diagnoses, that they're struggling with constipation. Like I shouldn't see them having temper tantrums and meltdowns. And it all just like one day just hit me that I was like, hold up. I'm a stranger watching other people's kids as a form of entertainment. And I know literally what feels like everything about these kids. And I'm just a stranger. And it was at that moment that I was like, this is weird. I got to click unfollow. This is very uncomfortable. And I talked to my friends, I talked to my husband, and they were like, yeah, totally. Like now that you say it, yeah, this is getting a little weird. Like I can't believe they shared that image or they told strangers that online. And the more I was having these conversations, the more my specifically husband was saying, you gotta talk to someone else about this. You got like, it's great. You seem very interested, but like, I'm not on social media. I'm not interested. You got to take this elsewhere, which I appreciate. And one day I downloaded the TikTok app and I kind of played around, pandemic life, West Coast life, doing trends, learning how it all works, because I'd never really been active on social media. And whenever I talked about the issue of sharenting or child exploitation, it seemed like people were pretty interested in it. So I thought, well, that's what I want to talk about. So I'll just kind of niche myself into that world and see what happens. And when I first started, I was pretty polarizing. I wouldn't say
That's
I was
how
like
it usually starts, right?
yeah.
Because, and I think it's because you were first exposed to all of it, and then you feel like you're looking around like, does anybody not realize how like wrong this is, right? Or how scary this is? That's how Jenna and I were when we first came over into our like anti-diet land. You just want to scream it from the rooftops. But then you realize to make that impact, it's being able to call people in. And I think so many of your followers, like myself, probably used to be the person sharing their child thinking like, this is normal. This is what we do.
Yeah, totally.
And now it's like, oh, wait, there's so much danger involved here.
And I used to think that too, right? Like I used to think it's normal. Granted, I didn't really share, like I did like a little announcement with my child's feet. And I do remember feeling like, well, I got to post something. Like I got to post a picture. This is what you do. You have a baby, you post something, they're cute, you share it. Like this is what you do. And I posted probably 3 or 4 photos in the first like 6 months of their life. And I did it because like it felt like that's what you do.
Like you had to.
Yeah, you know, and like no one was telling me I had to, but I think that is one of these feelings is we're seeing everybody share so much that we're like, well, we got to do that, right? We want to be like normal and share as well, but it never felt right to me. You know, privacy. My husband has really taught me the importance of privacy over all these years. And I get it so much more now. And so when I came on talking about kids and sharing, it initially came from a privacy and consent framework, right? And yeah, of course, the safety element, but I was always really passionate about privacy and consent. And then as I was in this world learning and uncovering, I recognized that just how unsafe all this is as well. So I wanted to tell other people because I thought maybe they didn't know because I didn't know. So if I didn't know, you might not know. So I should make a TikTok and tell you about it because this is really freaky.
And Sarah, your TikTok has exploded. Like I'm looking at it right now. Every single one of your videos goes viral. And that just shows really why this topic is so important. And it's so important to blast it over like all the niches because there's so many things that I think are done innocently. And I know you've brought that up in many of your more recent posts too, that like turns into not innocent things. And I have 2 things I wanted to add. One, the Mark Zuckerberg post is everything. Like he's the owner of the largest platform of social media and he won't post his children's faces. Like that's number one. And number 2, I heard a story recently from somebody, and I know when you bring up safety, like this is what I think about. So, you know, back in the day, people used to post like where their kids go to school or like so-and-so's first day and she's in this classroom and whatever, and like not think anything of it. And I heard a story recently, and I actually referred this mom to your page because she said, you know, she has a little bit of a larger platform. You know, she's an influencer of sorts. And she said somebody went up to her kid at school camp pickup or drop off and was like, "You're Noelle." I don't know why that's the first name that came to my mind. You know, I know you from the internet or like whatever it is. And she was like, I've never seen this person before in my life. Like the fact that they knew my kid's name. And if I wasn't there, like that kid, the camp counselor may have like allowed my daughter to go with this man, like is terrifying. So like this is beyond just like like safety online, like it's safety outside of the internet bubble too.
Well, I think it's important, and what I recognize in talking about these issues is we've always looked at it kind of as like a physical world thing and like an online world thing. Now we are so immersed in the online world that it's coming into our physical world, and it's all kind of meshed together. Like this is just our world right now. We live, our physical world is in a digital world. So it is scary. And I have heard so many stories, and a lot of influencers refer to those moments when they decided to take their kids offline, when people in the grocery store would walk up, try and like hug their kids or talk about like, you know, what they were doing on the weekend. And it's a scary thought that a stranger could have so much information about your child, know their routine so well that they could make that child feel as though they are a safe person when they are not. That's a very scary thought.
Yes, so many influencers are coming to mind that I'm thinking of. But I would love, you said the word sharenting earlier. So could you explain for our listeners, what is sharenting?
So sharenting is the general concept, you know, it's sharing and parenting, boom. And the concept of just sharing your life online, information about your children, videos and images, oversharing on social media, essentially.
And with that, so I think something I have explained to my husband. So my husband had a public account and he has now made it private.
Nice.
But like, does that actually matter when it comes to sharing photos of our kids? Because I have a private account too that I actually went through, like a private Instagram that I went through, and I actually removed any follower who I didn't actually know who they were. Like I spent hours on this one day because I was really
like
freaked
literally
out.
weeks I did this. I was like, who the fuck is this?
Like,
exactly,
removing
right?
all of them, right? But does that actually do anything? Because like my brain, what you just said before is like so real. It's like, oh, this was so cute, and like I love my kid and I want other people to see this, and it's like it's innocent, but like, is it?
Okay, so it's a lot, and I'll say a few things about it. It's one of the most popular questions that I get. I personally choose not to share privately or publicly. Those in my life who I love and trust, I will send you a picture via email, via text, if you need to see my kids. And that's fine. I don't have people knocking at the door begging to see my kids, even their grandparents, and they have lots of grandparents. They're fine. They're happy, right? Nothing on the internet is private. Everything is permanent. Having a private account with a curated list of people you know and trust is a safer option. But is it 100% safe? No, it's not. And also on a private account, that doesn't mean you can still breach the trust of your child and their right to privacy either, right? Like sometimes I worry that people are like, oh, well, it's a private account, so I'll just share their potty training journey with everybody in my life who I like know. To me, that's a breach of their privacy. So the private accounts are hard, but it is a safer option if people do want to share occasional images, milestones in their children's life.
That's super helpful, and that makes sense. And I'm sure there's so much nuance to like every question and every
100%.
every situation. But if we go back to sharenting and people who really lean into it, what is the wildest family YouTube scenario you've ever come across? Is there like, and you don't have to obviously give names, but or is there just anything that you've seen lately or just in your entire time that you really have dug into this that is just blew your mind, or a case that sticks out to you?
Yeah, so there's a few things. I find it very concerning the amount of people who are sharing their children covered in feces online. whether that is having an accident, finding their toddler in their crib with feces smeared, in car seats with feces. The amount of parents who feel comfortable sharing their most precious gift covered in poop with the world is really shocking to me. I've been tagged in, like, not a couple of these, like a lot of these. And this is just wild. It is a complete, the amount of parents who can't even treat their own kids with dignity and respect is wild to me. If we're looking at family vloggers, I would say the most horrendous story would probably be the Michelle Hobson story. She had a popular YouTube channel, Family Adventures, if I remember correctly. And she had adopted 7 children, if I remember correctly. And they did family channel skits, pranks, kind of stuff. And it was found that she was severely abusing them behind the scenes. And her, 500,000 followers online didn't see that. And she was subsequently arrested for it, and the children were rehomed, and she died before she went on trial. But that was a story. There was a family vlogging family that was severely abusing their children behind the scenes, and on the outside, it just looked like, fun family content.
I watched that YouTube, or not, I'm sorry, not the YouTube, the Hulu special.
The Hulu, yes, Age of Influence.
The Age of Influence special on that family. I was beside myself. I made my husband watch it. That was like part of my like, okay, you need your account to be private.
I was gonna say, this sounds like I have some homework to. I'll be like, honey, sit down. We're watching a fun series tonight. I'll trick him.
This woman would lock these children in a closet with a lock on the outside and not feed them for days if they didn't perform properly. Yeah. Like, it is so terrifying, but all these kids see on the outside. And now I have a toddler who watches these YouTube shows, and that's all I think about now. Because for whatever reason, kids like watching other kids play with toys. I don't get it. But like, it comes up on YouTube, and like, he'll watch it and I'll change it and, whatever else. But I can't help but think, like, how everything that you've said, how are these children actually being protected? So one of the pieces that we haven't discussed so far is like the difference between child stars, like on TV and in movies, versus this camera life. Can you explain like how that's different, and like how these other children, it's not easy on them either, but like someone like Drew Barrymore, who grew up as a child actress, like she had some protection versus the Hobson family children.
Yeah, the child actors work under the Coogan law, so they have some protections for their money and for their labor. The child stars of the internet, they have nothing. These Illinois kids have a little, doesn't get enacted until July 1st, 2024, but they'll have a little, gives the parents a lot of time to move out of state though. But we can kind of look at child actors to kind of see how this might turn out. But the difference is, and there are many, is child actors are playing a role. These children are just trying to live their life, and their existence is being exploited. Their childhood is being commercialized, and they as humans are being monetized. They are just trying to live within the safety of their own home, yet they receive no privacy, right? Like the celebrity actors and stuff, they're getting caught out on, the Rodeo Drive and paparazzi and stuff, but then they go home to the safety and comfort of their own home. These kids don't have that. They are also kind of always in performance mode, right? Is that really how that kid acts, or does that kid act like that because mom has the camera on them again? Right? There's no protection for the money they are generating. There's no protection for their privacy at all. And there's no protection for their labor, because how often do we hear influencers say, this is work, this is hard work, like this is a real job. Well, now we have kids doing this real job. We need to think about that, right? So there's a lot of difference between the two, but if you were doing a case study, you could kind of see how this might turn out. And Allison Stoner right now, former child actor, is just starting a new podcast. I can't remember the name of it right now, but she refers to it as the toddler to train wreck pipeline of child stars. And that's going to expose a lot. And I feel like we will hear a lot of similarities probably between the experiences of child actors and what these child star family blogger influencer kids are dealing with.
Wow. And I have a feeling you're going to be a guest on that podcast. I'm manifesting that because I think you have a lot to share. So for our listeners who are listening to this today, chances are they have either children of their own, right? Or nieces or nephews or children in their life that are very important to them. And maybe this is their first time hearing this message, right? Or maybe they've seen videos here and there. What tips do you have for parents that are like, oh my gosh, I've been sharing, maybe not the potty training and, the very invasive things,
but
but
I've
just
just been
sharing their
sharing my
kids.
life.
Yep. So how do they start to make sure that their child is safe and really keep that top of mind?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is go private. You have a better chance at keeping your kids and their images and their information safe on a private account. I also think that parents shouldn't feel guilty. These conversations haven't been happening for years. There's not really guidebooks that we can go to and learn about, or we don't have any evidence to see how this all turns out. So I just don't think parents should be too hard on themselves. Once you're brought into this conversation and you are learning, well, now you can adjust. That means, going private, possibly looking through things you have shared and think, is this an appropriate photo? Is my child fully clothed? Are they in the bath? Would I hand this photo to a random stranger on the street? If you wouldn't do that, probably don't post it. Does this video or photo share too much information about my child? Was it a very private experience for them, or their medical information? Kind of go back and look at past posts. And I'm not saying you have to delete everything, but just kind of curate it to see if maybe you did go a little too far in what you were sharing online and move forward in a different direction. And a lot of people have had success with occasionally sharing their kid. I've always said, I'm not against influencers who have made this their job, occasionally sharing a photo or a child being in a video. It is when the entire feed is based around kids, when the kids are content, when everything is a kid. That's what I have a really big problem with. I recognize that it's 2023, and I don't think broaching this topic as a all or nothing is the best way to approach it. But you can also share your children from behind, their faces covered with an emoji, their little hands from a distance. There is a way to share them that still keeps them private relatively.
I have learned so much from you, Sarah, and continue to. And your message is so powerful, and I love to see the traction that you're getting. And the last point that I just want to bring up before we let you tell everybody where to find you and where to learn more is one of the things that I thought was so powerful is how if you've never gone viral, quote unquote, and all of a sudden you make this video or follow a trend. And I remember, I think it was the video where parents were using the sound, and then the kid's phone was their foot and it was ringing. And then all of a sudden there was this widespread trend of a day in the life as your baby and talking for them. That gave me the icks a lot. But these parents went viral and their accounts became previously about whatever it was, and now all of a sudden it's a day in the life of my baby. And I feel that should be big red flags And maybe
Yeah.
it hasn't been before, but I guess my final question to you would be like, if we do see content like this, like I know you get tagged in so much of it, and I try not to be like the person that's like, Sarah, have you seen
Oh,
this
tag,
yet?
tag away, tag
Is-
away.
Is there anything else like we can do when we see stuff like that, that like gives you like that icky feeling like, oh, is this kid safe? Like, is there anything as like an individual consuming content? Like, should we report it, or is it really more just like the awareness and, bringing awareness to the topic?
I think if you see things online that give you the ick, or you feel that they are exploitative or abusive, you should always report in app. Granted, we all know how those work, but you're doing something, and if everybody does that, then something might happen. If you see something online that is very concerning, very exploitative, abusive, you can contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and you can file a report via their cyber tip in the States, because you feel like you're doing something. I think allowing me to come on your platform and bring this to another corner of the podcast realm is great, and talking to friends, and stop following these people, stop liking these people. If you see a photo of the foot baby thing, click not interested in app. I think a lot of this comes down to voluntary societal norms. We have to change it. We all have to kind of group together as parents and say, you know what, this is enough. It's not just my children that deserve privacy, informed consent, and digital safety. It's all children. So I'm going to keep having these conversations. I'm going to click not interested. I'm going to report when needed. I'm going to tell my friends, like, why are you following that influencer, and all the reasons why it's exploitative and weird. And I think that I can already feel it, like it's gaining traction. And then when bills pop up like they do in Illinois, or in states you live, in countries, I'm up in Canada, send an email, make a phone call, say this is important, because I think protecting the money these kids are generating is important, but I would like to see more being done to protect the privacy and dignity of children online.
Thank you so much. And just so everybody is clear, like the money in that episode, that Hulu episode that this woman was making for her or with her family back 15 years ago, I think it was like 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, probably like
10
years ago. Yeah.
Was over like hundreds of thousands per month. So like where it is today, that it's skyrocketed. So like this is like real money, like a lot of money, and a lot of dignity and care that is at stake, really. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Well, thanks
Sam,
for having me.
anything else you want to add, Sam?
No, I love that last question that you just added, Jen. I thought that was a wonderful way to really pull together the episode. And if you could just share for our followers, I know we said it, we'll say it in the intro, but where can they find you, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm across social media at this point. So my main platform is on TikTok, mum.uncharted, same name on Instagram as well as YouTube. And I am working on a podcast that will come out in the fall. So yeah, some really exciting things happening.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you two. It's been awesome.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of What the Actual Fork Pod. We know there are a lot of pods out there, and we are so grateful that you are here listening with us.
So if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, like, share with all of your friends and faves, and don't forget to rate and review and let us know what you want to hear more of. The more we hear from you, the more that we can make these episodes exactly what you want. We would also love to connect with you on Instagram at WhatTheActualForkPod.
We promise to continue to bring you the hottest topics, greatest guests, and the most fun you can possibly have fighting diet culture bullshit. We love you, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week for more fun.